my school counseling friend, and welcome back to another episode of the School for School Counselors podcast, and happy National School Counseling Week. I am so glad you're here with me. I do have a confession, though. I sat down to record an episode for you this week, and I just couldn't post it. It just didn't feel right. I really struggled with it, and as a matter of fact, I lost sleep about this all night long. Now, we were scheduled to release this podcast episode this morning, but it didn't feel right. I felt like you needed something more than what I had given you, and so I stewed over it all day long, came home from my campus, and decided to record a new episode for you because I want to make this episode for National School Counseling Week something significant, right? You don't need any tips or tricks. You don't need any tools of the trade this week. You need something appropriate for National School Counseling Week. So I'm just going to talk off the cuff today. I have no outline. I have no preconceived thoughts about what I'm going to talk about. I just know that I want to tell you how much I appreciate what you do. I want to tell you that I think school counselors are just about the best people on the planet. And some of you have heard me say that many times, but I repeat it often because it's true. You are in such a unique position to make such a substantial impact on the world. And I want you to remember that because as you trudge through the day-to-day, minute by minute, task by task progression of your school day, sometimes you get bogged down in that and it feels like, this doesn't matter. Why am I here? Why did I do this? Or what I say to my principal some days, which is, I raised my hand and said, I want to do this job. That sounds like a good idea. I think I'll do that. And I know you've probably had those days where you think, man, I was out of my mind when I volunteered for this, right? But the truth is, you make such a difference each and every day. And I'm not just telling you that because I want you to feel good about yourself or because I want you to feel better about your work. I want you to know that because it's true. And I don't think people tell you often enough what a big deal it is that you raised your hand and said, I want to jump into the world of school counseling. Over the last few years, as we've been working with folks in our Get the Job program, we've talked about, what led people into the school counseling field, what really what drove them, what motivated them to get into the field. And the number one response that we get is about helping students, right? Sometimes people had a mentor or a school counselor that really made a difference for them, and they want to be like that. Sometimes people just want to be the person that they never had in their own life. And sometimes, it's a combination of the two. See a need, fill a need kind of a thing. But whatever the reason, it's always come down to helping kids. You guys are helpers. You are helpers at heart. That's a big thing. I don't know if you realize how amazing that is. So many people in our world have lost touch with that helping side of them. There's a lot of me in our world right now. And while the rest of the world is talking about me, you guys are talking about kids. And I think that's so stinking cool. So thank you for what you do. You need to know how appreciated you are. When you're walking down the hallway and your walkie goes off for the 27th time that day, right? And you take a breath and then start walking to the next crisis. Or when you're doing scheduling out your ears and it feels like you're never going to get everybody where they need to be. Or checking hundreds and hundreds of graduation plans, making sure everybody's credits are on track, that they're going to be able to graduate and they're going to be able to do what they want to do. Or the tantrums that you respond to, kids who are so dysregulated, they don't even know how to come back to center. Your kindness, your patience, your willingness just to sit next to them and be in the moment. That's something remarkable. And I think we often take it for granted because we figure, well, anybody could do what I do, but anybody can't. You're something special, and you need to know that. When you are writing your 30th 504 plan for the week, coming up with the new sets of accommodations and scheduling meetings, even though you know that's not where your heart is, that's not what you want to be doing, you're tasked to do it. And you do it with a willing heart and a sweet spirit about you. When you are attending your 90,000th meeting of the week, right, for whatever it is, and all those meetings probably could have been emails, right? Or when you pass staff members in the hallway and you wonder, what do they think about the work I do? What do they perceive me as? Or, man, I wish I had a group to hang out with like those grade level teams did. And sometimes our work can get a little bit lonely. We don't have that tribe around us. We don't have people who understand what we do. I had someone the other day ask me, are you analyzing me? When we were talking, just because they'd heard me explain something complicated in an IEP meeting. I think it opened their minds to the expanse of our knowledge and expertise, but it also kind of wigged them out. And so now they're hypervigilant. They want to know all the time, are you analyzing me? And I have to tell them that's not what I do, my friend. That is not what I do. But it gets lonely, right? People kind of keep you an arm's length away sometimes. A lot of the things that you talk to with students are behind that cloak of confidentiality. You can't share it. You can't tell people what's bothering you, the horrible things that you've heard, right? The concerning things that are not leaving your mind or your heart, and there's really not much you can do about it in the moment. People don't get that stuff. And it's a heavy burden sometimes to bear, but you do it and you handle it well. You know, I remember back when I was a new school counselor, I had not been counseling very long, and I had a little girl in my office that came in and told me one of the most horrible stories that I could have ever imagined hearing. And to hear it come out of a little one's mouth was even worse. And no matter how well prepared I thought I wasn't prepared for that story. And I remember as she was talking, I was working very hard to keep my face neutral, to keep my body language neutral, because I knew that she needed me to be there in that moment with her without pitying, right? Without shock, without disgust. She just needed me to be there in that moment with her. And even though I did my dead level best, at one point she looked at me and she said, Miss Johnson, you look scared. Are you scared? And I said, no, sweetheart, I'm not scared. I'm just so very sad that something like that had to happen to you. That's not fair for a little girl to have to experience that. I think about that day often because it happens all the time, all over our country and all over our world for school counselors. And folks think they know what we do, right? Even your administrators probably think they know what you do. Just like people think they know how schools run because they went to school once, right? People think they know what counselors do because they went in the counselor's office once. They have no idea what you do. They have no idea the amount of time you spend worrying about your students, praying for your students, planning for your students, and working to do your very, very best to ensure their success. They don't see all of the notes that are written, right? All the documentation, all of the calls to children's services, all of the calls to social workers, all of the coats you've bought in the middle of the night at Walmart because you knew a cold snap was coming and you had babies that were going to be cold. All the snacks that you hand out, school supplies, personal supplies, all of the parents that you've spoken with, right? Trying to help guide them and be a shoulder for them at the same time. Nobody sees all the things that you do. But I want you to know that I see you. And you are doing some of the most important work on the planet. Hands down. And so thank you for what you do. Thank you for your willingness to get up each and every day to go serve students through the mess, right? Through the stress, through the overscheduling, through the misutilization of your time, through the angry parents, people cursing, lack of supplies, whatever it is. You continue to get up each day and say, I'll do that job. And you do it so well. I'm so proud to count myself among your ranks. I'm so proud to be one of you, a school counselor. Have the best National School Counseling Week.